Good morning, everyone. This is Father Nate, missionary priest in Italy, and thanks for joining us today, March 5th, on No Greater Delight, our podcast on Marian feasts and Marian meditations. Well, today's feasts take us to Canada. I was going to say France, but Montreal is not in France, it's in Canada, where they celebrate Our Lady of Good Help, at least dating back to 1657. So again, Our Lady of Good Help in Montreal, Canada. So, dedicated to Our Lady of Good Help, Notre Dame de Bon Secours, for 350 years has been the sanctuary of sailors leaving Montreal. A wooden chapel was built there, as we said, in 1657. Saint Margaret Bourgeois, just pretend that's the right pronunciation, was the founder of the congregation of Notre Dame. When she returned from France in 1673, she brought back with her a wooden statue of Our Lady of Good Help, right? Which, if you go to the shrine even today, you can see it on the gospel sign of the altar, because when the church burned in 1754, the statue was saved from the fire, right? This isn't to say that somebody took the statue from the church, because after the fire had ravaged the original chapel, the statue was miraculously found uninjured among the smoldering embers, right? The mortal remains of Saint Marguerite Bourgeois was interred in the sanctuary of the church in 2005, right, which is the 350th anniversary of Notre Dame de Bon Secours, right? So interestingly enough, she rests at the feet of the statue that she herself had brought from France, right? Over the entrance is inscribed a message. If the love of Mary is graven, like written in your heart, forget not a prayer in passing. That's good advice. Yep, if the love of Mary is written in your heart, you should always pray, especially asking her intercession. In 1849, the Bishop of Montreal placed a statue of the Blessed Virgin, Star of the Sea, atop the tower facing the harbor, right? For this reason, the chapel is also known as Sailors' Church. There's many votive offerings, including carved ships, models of sailing ships suspended from the church's ceiling, in thanksgiving to the Blessed Virgin for her assistance, right? It's very, very beautiful. And again, there's also a chapel set in the roof, which is a facsimile of the Holy House. Okay, so now we're going to have to cross the ocean to go back to the dedication of the Marian shrine of the Miracle, Madonna del Miracolo, in Desascenso al Serio, Bergamo, right? So we're told that Our Lady appeared to a young sick girl, Venturina Bonelli, on October 8th, 1440, right? The pious young girl was about to undergo the amputation of her right leg, but with her prayer and her mother's prayers, Our Lady intervened, and putting a white towel over the horrendous cancerous wound, it was instantly healed. There you go. Sorry, translating that immediately from the Italian. And then lastly, we're going to jump over to Spain, where we celebrate Santa Maria de la Cruz, Holy Mary of the Cross, in Cubas, Madrid, in Spain. So in 1449, Inés Martínez, who was the age of 12 at the time, saw the Virgin 6 times from March 3rd to 19th. Dressed in gold, the beautiful lady appeared to the girl while she was herding pigs, different animal. On March 9th, Mary took a cross from Inés and planted it to mark the location of her desired shrine, which later became a Franciscan convent. I think we had talked about this the other day, in fact, right? So for many years, this anniversary was celebrated with a procession from the town to the rural sanctuary, where the nuns would expose to the public veneration this cross, right? During the Spanish Civil War, 8 sisters were martyred and the shrine burned. In 1988, they began rebuilding the shrine. On March 5th, 1994, the new church was dedicated, and the Bishop of Getafe designated it a diocesan shrine, right? The new convent is home to Clarissan nuns, and in recent years, the March 9th pilgrimage has been revived. And so that's what we're celebrating today in the Marian world on March 5th. For today's Marian meditation, taken from the book by Father Ildefonso Villar, we continue with meditation 44, entitled The Presentation of the Child. And here we'll consider section 2.2, The Sacrifice of Mary. But above all, the temple is the place of sacrifice par excellence. Mary goes there to offer to God the most beautiful, the most painful of her sacrifices. According to the law, all the firstborn were to be offered to the Lord, and then had to be ransomed by payment of 5 sickles of silver. Jesus and Mary did not hold themselves exempt from this law. but submit to its exact fulfillment. Jesus is offered up to his eternal Father, and is then ransomed by his mother. Such is the sublime simplicity of this mystery. But it is all a mystery of sacrifice. Never forget, sacrifice and Jesus are inseparable. The child offers himself voluntarily to his father as a victim of expiation, repeating on that occasion the words of the psalm, "The holocausts of animals are no longer pleasing to thee. So behold, I came. Here I am." But this sacrifice was not his alone. His mother also is there. She offers the divine child, a sacrifice to the eternal Father. Recall the sacrifice of Abraham, ready to immolate his son to fulfill the holy will of God. Some say that this order was given to the father and not to the mother, because the latter would have been incapable of performing such a sacrifice. But now it is the mother who is fully conscious and very aware of what she is doing, fully understanding the meaning and the depth of the ceremony. She offers her son as a sacrifice, later to be consummated. This is the self-same offertory of the first Mass said by Christ on the cross. On the day of his passion and death, how many times would not Mary recall the far-off day of the child's presentation? The Eternal Father was well pleased to accept the offering, and was not content, as in the case of Abraham, with a mere intention. He demanded its exact fulfillment to the very end. How great was the generosity and the love of Mary and of Jesus. Thank them for this offering, since it is to them that we owe our salvation. And you also readily offer yourself up for any sacrifice, whatever it may be. Offer yourself up as a victim of expiation and love, and rejoice if God, pleased to receive your offering, accepts your immolation. Both in promising as well as in fulfilling, be generous with your promises to Jesus and Mary. For today's reading from the Admirable Heart of Mary by St. John Eudes, we read the conclusion of chapter 6, The Peace of God Mirrored in the Admirable Heart of Mary. Now this adorable peace of God has impressed an excellent image of itself on the heart of the Mother of Peace. In the first place, sin, the sole enemy of peace and the only cause of discord, never possessed the slightest power over the most holy heart of Mary. Secondly, divine grace, which always reigned within her heart, kept the passions, the senses, and all the other faculties of the body and soul of the Mother of Grace under the rule of reason and the laws of God's Spirit. Thirdly, the most profound humility of Mary's heart endowed her with a passionate love of suffering and humiliation, and enabled her to endure them in peacefulness. Fourthly, the extraordinary love of her admirable heart for holy poverty induced her to bear with equanimity the sorrows and discomforts which invariably accompany it. In the fifth place, her ardent love of the cross made her find refreshment even in trials and tribulations. In the sixth place, the invincible patience which strengthened her in the troubles, tempests, and changes of our miserable earthly life gave her complete possession of the most profound peace. In the seventh place, the inconceivable charity towards mankind, which filled her gentle heart, allowed no sentiment of aversion or of enmity to sway her, even towards those who betrayed, sold, and crucified her dearly beloved Son. Nay, more, she herself offered Christ to the Eternal Father in expiation of their crime, and to re-establish an everlasting peace between God and man. That is why the Holy Ghost inspires her to say that she found the precious treasure of peace that man had lost through sin. It's taken from Song of Songs, chapter 8, verse 10. In the eighth place, her virginal heart never having followed any will but the will of God, she always possessed God's own peace in a most eminent degree. Finally, divine peace so completely filled and permeated this peaceful heart that it became a haven of peace, and a source of tranquility for all who, troubled and shaken by the storm of adversity, passion, and temptation, have recourse to her incomparable benignity with humility and confidence. O Queen of Peace, grant that our hearts may bear an image of that holy peace that reigns in thine.
Hello, and we hope that you enjoyed listening to our Marian podcast. In the spirit of Saint Bernard of Clairvaux, we say to you that there is no greater delight than to spread the devotion of Our Lady. We hope you share these sentiments and encourage you greatly to share with a loved one. Know that you are always in our prayers, and we ask that you keep us in yours. God bless.